But now it's my pleasure to introduce our President, Michelle Johnston, for her final keynote address to Council.
Fake news. Fake news.
It's been my pleasure to serve alongside Michelle for the last nearly 6 years. I've seen firsthand how hard she's worked to advance the interests of our members with our employers, within our labor movement, and with government. For 17 years, Michelle has served our union, and our union is a better place for her service. From picket captain to president and everything in between, Michelle has advanced the principle that everyone benefits from a union, and that the union, in turn, benefits from its service to its members. I want to thank you for your leadership. And I look forward to seeing if you actually slow down in retirement. But delegates, please join me in welcoming our President, Michelle Johnston.
Wow. Thank you. Thanks, Chris, for that kind introduction. And I'm going to try not to be emotional. As I open my final President's Report to Delegates Council, I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for the work that you do for our union. The union, our union, is only as strong as the people who make it work. And each and every person in this room gives so much of themselves and their time to serve our union and our members. I am so grateful to all of you and to all of the elected people who aren't here today for your service. Particularly at this council meeting, I am reminded just how much of our work is about democracy. We are in the middle of the democratic process of selecting the next leadership team for our union. And later this year, we will be electing the next batch of leaders at the local level. But it's not just about our internal processes. Unions are about giving workers democracy in their workplaces, about giving each worker a voice with respect to their working conditions. And through our union's advocacy and the advocacy we do within the labor movement, we bring the voices of workers to the halls of power and ensure that our democratically elected leaders remember to make this province work and to whom they are accountable for. Three and a bit years ago, I assumed the role of president. Did I see that? Was that part of my path? Did I see that as part of my path? No, I didn't. And I feel like we hit the ground running. And for those of you who work closely with me, you know I haven't really stopped. I have people saying to me, you're 22 days away. You're going to start winding down. I haven't. I actually was at the Bruce all week last week, came back Friday, hit the ground running yesterday, and now 2 days chairing this wonderful council. I haven't stopped and I won't stop. And the past year was no exception. I have been run off my feet, as many of you know, and my apologies to the folks that are here from LAO and our legal sectors. I've been run off my feet with the nuclear file. Whether it be at the Canadian Nuclear Association, the Canadian Nuclear Workers Council, IFPTE, women in nuclear, or North American young generation in nuclear, the society's face is always there. Always. And we're always actively involved because we are a leader. And, as many people have told me, we punch above our weight. Because we are finally witnessing, my words, the nuclear renaissance that our union has been fighting for many years, before my tenure. Because we all know that if we are going to meet the clean energy needs of our province, of our country, we cannot get there without massive investment in nuclear power. This year, we have really seen the seeds of our labor bear fruit. And so many of our members are front and center in this work that we do. With the 80th anniversary, I've been reminiscing a lot, and I was reminded of some of the first conversations that I had with Ken Hartwick back when I was first president, my first meeting with Ken Hartwick. Every time I saw him, I'm like a bulldog with a bone. I'd get on his case. I'd say, okay, what are we doing with Pickering? Ken, what are we doing with Pickering? Why are we decommissioning an existing asset that will help us in climate change? It almost became a joke, because when Ken, Jeff Parnell, and I would meet to have these conversations, I would, first thing out of my mouth, not saying, yeah, I mean, what's going on with Pickering? And then, a few years in, probably 2 years ago, I was at the Women in Nuclear conference in Niagara Falls. My phone rang. I looked at the call display. I said, oh, what's Ken calling me about? What did Joe do? So I stepped out of the room, and I took the call, and I said, hey, Ken, what's going on? I said, wait, don't tell me. You're calling me to tell me they're refurbishing Pickering. There was dead silence on the end of the phone. And I said, seriously, don't joke about this with me. You know how passionate I am about that refurb. He said, well, Michelle, I can't promise you we're going to refurb it, but we're going to look at it again. I just about passed out. It was one of those moments where I went, wow, that perseverance, that continual dialogue, the collaboration and the work that we do really can go far. And so for me, it's with such excitement that we are finally seeing such tremendous movement on that file. And our union has been trying to move that nuclear needle for so long, and we're finally seeing our persistence and our advocacy pay off. And I am thankful to each and every one of you, because I could not have done that without your support. I'm saying that truly from the bottom of my heart. You allowed me to go out there, speak to government, speak to our respective employers, speak to our members, speak to our board. I didn't do this alone. And we're all very excited to see the provincial government announce its intention to refurbish Pickering B nuclear station. I think that's one of the highlights of my tenure. We have come so far from having to advocate against short-sighted plans to close Pickering early, and we've won that fight for refurbishment. And now we'll also see the refurbishment of Bruce B Unit 4 starting in February of 2025. I was up at the Bruce, like I said, all week last week, probably the longest time I've been at the Bruce at one time. And having that announcement come out, that was one of the announcements Dave Chexters and I were at with Minister Lecce. And having that announcement come out, just, the nuclear renaissance is here, it's upon us. And we need to be proud of that. I remember when I was younger, when you talked about nuclear, I never allowed my children to watch The Simpsons, by the way. I don't think they even know what it is. But when I was younger, when I was a bit younger, we didn't talk about nuclear. In our workplaces, we were told, lay low, lay low. Now is the time for us to talk about it. Now is the time for us to be proud as workers in the nuclear sector. And I want to see you all carry that on. We are also pleased to see the government finally recognize the value of investing in our existing plant and the workers who work there. In fact, once again on Friday, this one was a little bit near and dear to my heart because one of these things that because I'm just like a little chirping in the government's ear, employer's ear, but the government announced that they will be building a new hot cell in Bruce County to process cancer-fighting medical isotopes. This will take work that was once being done abroad in Germany and bring that work home to Ontario. When I talk about medical isotopes, when I engage in those conversations, they talk to me about the process of what's done. And I say, yeah, it sits in the reactor. They pull it out of the reactor. They take it to Pearson Airport, ship it to Germany, and then Germany distribute it across the world into patients. My question has always been, why can't we do that here in Canada? I didn't care if it was Ontario, I just wanted it to be in Canada. And to have that announcement be probably one of the last tours I will ever have up at the Bruce was really a great one for me to be at. So thank you, Dave, for attending that with me. We also have shovels in the ground for the small modular reactors. I'm not using acronyms for some of us in the room, at Darlington. And that project is already beginning to hit its first milestones. I can say this in front of this group of people. I didn't think they should have done SMRs at Darlington. I thought it should have been large nuclear, but that's what it is. The government wanted to be the first in the world to do that. And the SMR project is immensely important. It's one that has implications all across our country and all across the world. As you know, other provinces are beginning to look at expanding their nuclear footprints to meet the climate change goals. And they are watching what Ontario is doing very, very closely. And we are, in turn, watching these provinces very closely. As they move to establishing their own nuclear programs, there may be new opportunities for our union to support those workforces. But now that we are starting to get these investments, we need to ensure that workers are front and center in every aspect of this nuclear renaissance. And that will mean we will need to continue to advocate with our employers, to advocate with the respective governments in power and those in the opposition, and insist on being involved in the process. Folks, this work is not going to get done without people. We hold that right, and we're in charge. And we need to make sure we continue to advocate that the workers must come first. On this front, there is a great deal to be optimistic about. And people have asked me over the number of months, why are you retiring? My first response is because it's time, 38 years in the sector. But I also firmly believe it's good to always leave on a high note. And we are on a high note right now. Bruce Power has asked the society, as well as the Power Workers Union and the building trades, to sit on their Bruce Power Site Development Advisory Panel, something that none of our employers have ever done in the past. From here, we will ensure that the workers who make these plants run are never an afterthought, but rather they are the backbone of the work that's going forward. With everything that has been happening up at the Bruce, and I almost feel like I need to buy a place up there, Our incredible our incredible Bruce Power local outgrew their existing facilities. And at the beginning of September, I was so proud to still be your president as we opened the doors to our new regional office and training center in Tiverton. And I will say, I was up there last week. I made sure I was up there. I brought the Power Workers President, Jeff Parnell, to see our office. So thank you for hosting us unexpectedly. But I will say that this new office will give the Bruce local the space it needs, not just for today, but for the future. With the announcement of the expansion of the Bruce station, the Society decided it was important to invest in community up there so that our union will be ready to support all the new employees that we are sure to see. We also think it demonstrates our union's strong commitment to this area. I think Jeff was a little jealous about our office. Beyond the work of the Bruce local, the office will be used to support delegate and membership training for many of other Society locals. We will also be opening our doors up there to other local labor groups like Grey Bruce Labor Council, and it will be used as a classroom for great local organizations. And I've always been about, for those of you who know me, it's about education. Education. When we take people up to the power plant to tour them, it's about educating them on the value of nuclear power, on the value of nuclear and medical isotopes. So I'm really excited for this to be a real community hub to educate people. There has also been exciting news from our NWMO local. The work of selecting a willing host community for the Deep Geological Repository is progressing well. A little while ago, I had an opportunity to put an op-ed in the Winnipeg Free Press talking about Ignace's decision to support the DGR, Deep Geological Repository. And just a few weeks ago, we saw that the community of Teeswater in South Bruce has voted in favor of becoming a possible nuclear host community for that DGR. This is the result of years of incredibly hard work by our members at the NWMO. And I know there is still very important work to be done with the Indigenous communities in both regions. But our NWMO members, they deserve a ton of credit. I'd like to ask our members from NWMO to please stand. Congratulations, Mike, on all the work that you and the team at NWMO have done to get us to where we are today. And I know the announcements is going to be forthcoming before the end of the year, so I look forward, I'm hopefully still around for that, and I look forward to it. All of this shows you just how important it is to educate people on the realities of nuclear power. Like I said earlier, I've taken politicians and labor leaders through so many tours of our nuclear facilities that the staff there now joke, and the management actually say to me that I can lead the tours myself. But thanks to this education, we are seeing just how much attitudes about nuclear power are shifting. And our union is so well positioned to take advantage of it. These are such exciting developments that give me so much confidence that nuclear will be an important part of climate action and economic prosperity in this province and in this country for generations to come. And we are not taking our foot off the pedal. We have branded our ongoing nuclear advocacy efforts with a sharp new Team Can Do logo. This week, Eric, I thought you were going to give me a standing ovation on this one. I know that the folks on our nuclear caucus have been saying, we got to push for can-do technology, and that's what we're doing. As a matter of fact, this week, we are going to be running ads for those of you who take the subway in Queen's Park subway station. That's where the politicians are, touting the benefits of Canadian nuclear power. We are sending a message that the time for anti-science policy around nuclear has to go. And I'm really proud to do that. But there isn't just great news coming out of the nuclear sector. This past year, we had significant financial commitments from the government to support Ontario's hydroelectric facilities with $1 billion announcements for the refurbishment of the Sir Adam Beck generating station. And I'm not finished yet. And they also, another $600 million for the Saunders Station in Cornwall. And recently, our members at Hydro One, in concert with OPG, completed a $135 million refurbishment of the Beck 2 transformer station in Niagara Falls. This was a large and complex 8-year project across many divisions, completely designed and commissioned in-house. I want to offer my congratulations to all the members who took part in that project. I'm now going to turn to our legal sector locals. I've been really proud that our union gets to represent roughly 500 unionized lawyers, the majority of whom are women. There are many challenges for our legal members. However, we continue to press the government to establish a stable funding model for legal aid that isn't simply at the mercy of unaccountable financial markets. The government continues to play politics with the bail system. This is a dangerous game that threatens the ability of Ontarians to access real justice in our legal system and will put more pressure on our already strained jails and detention facilities. I know that we have members currently working on an inquest into a death that occurred in the custody of one of our detention facilities. All of our members know that this government is not afraid to infringe on our chartered protected rights, and this is particularly true in our legal sector. But there is incredible work happening with our legal locals, and it has been really interesting seeing how we are shaking up the sector in remarkable ways. The LAO, Legal Aid Ontario Local, signed its first collective agreement last November, and has spent that year working on ensuring the actual implementation of that contract. That's a lot of work. And this is important work, as they are in the process of getting ready for the next round of bargaining. With a new CA, as you all know, friends at the Bruce know this, friends at Hydro One knew this, as does OPG and all our other locals, there is a lot of figuring out what is working and what isn't. Remember, it was the inequities that these lawyers were experiencing in their workplaces that led them to seek out a union in the first place. And in getting unionized with us and the bargaining a collective agreement, they have been able to close their pay gap and remedy many of the inequities that they were experiencing. But there is still a lot of work to do. But it's important work, and the effects of our actions are rippling across the sector. I heard a story from the LRSO Labor Relations Staff Officer that looks after LAO, Lynn McDougall. She ran into an acquaintance who told her that thanks to the work they've done on the LAO salary grid, that his wife had got a $20,000 raise. To which Lynn said, "But your wife isn't one of our members." And she wasn't. but workers at other agencies have been able to negotiate increases to underpaid lawyers based on what our LAO lawyers have done in bargaining. And at Aboriginal Legal Services, back in July, they won a very important arbitration award. They grieved because their employer's benefit plan was discriminatory against Indigenous members with status. The employer had codified that status members were entitled to lower benefits than non-status employees, and that status employees had to go through a long, drawn-out process working through the federal non-insured health benefits program. So ALS won the award and told the employer to fix it. And the employer was forced to move everybody to the same insurance provider. And already we are seeing that other Indigenous agencies that have been employing the same discriminatory policies are already beginning to follow our lead. Sharon, Dana, and all of our reps here today from LAO, can I ask you to please stand? Thank you. Thank you so much for the work that you do. The grassroots work that you do for your members. You know, I was around in 2016 when we were trying to organize LAO, and that was a tough haul. Right, Dana? We remember those days vividly. But I've come to understand the importance of going out there, continuing to fight, continuing to push, to continue to put pressure on the government to make sure we allow these folks to organize. So thank you all for everything you do for your members. You know, the work in this field is being recognized by our allies. This year, I'm proud to say that we were honored to receive 2 Bromley Awards from the Toronto and York District Labour Council. One for the Society's work in organizing Aboriginal legal services, and the other for Society member Audrey Huntley, who helped lead the charge for ALS to join our union. Thank you. And I want to thank all our legal members for their incredible work that they do each and every day. Turning back to energy, we have seen so much good news coming from the federal and provincial governments in the past 2 years, but we all know that we have to continue to apply pressure on governments at all levels to ensure that we have evidence-based decision-making in the energy sector. We have new leadership on the energy file in Ontario. While the Society enjoyed a very positive relationship with the previous minister, Todd Smith, and I do remain hopeful that Minister Lecce will continue to operate in the same open and collaborative manner. But we can't rest on our laurels, and we cannot make assumptions. Not every minister sees unions as the collaborative partners that we are. And with elections potentially looming both provincially and federally, it has never been more important to make sure that we are forging relationships with politicians of all stripes in order to cover all our bases. And I'll tell you, I'm optimistic because we've seen what this kind of advocacy can do. At both the Ontario Federation of Labour and the Canadian Labour Congress conventions, we were able to pass pro-nuclear resolutions on the convention floor. These resolutions ensure that the labor movement supports us when it comes to protecting the unionized jobs in Ontario's nuclear sector. And we are already seeing the benefits of having labor standing hand in hand with us on nuclear advocacy. Mike Belmore can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was a 10-year effort to get those resolutions passed. At least. In provincial politics, we continue to work closely with the Ontario government, And we have been meeting with the opposition, particularly the ONDP, Ontario NDP. So far, the Ontario Liberals they're not that organized, so we haven't been able to set up a meeting with them. But I consider it important to meet with the opposition because, as we have seen federally, there is always a chance that the NDP can wield power in some form in our province. And while their open support of unions and the labor movement could open new opportunities for labor-friendly policies, their historical aversion to nuclear power is a threat to our members. But we have been meeting behind the scenes, not just with their leadership, but we've also gotten right down into the grassroots level. And I'm optimistic that the tide will be turning soon. In the new year, there will be an Ontario NDP policy convention, and we have been organizing so that pro-nuclear resolutions will get passed on their convention floor. I'm very hopeful for that. That deserves a round. If that happens, that will be spectacular. And I believe that it is important and valuable work because in 2024, the consensus around nuclear power is clear. And we should be removing any opposition to nuclear power from the legislature, from wherever it comes, so that we can all move forward towards a common goal. I believe that this is how we best protect our members from short-sighted anti-science attitudes at Queen's Park. All of this advocacy work is about opening doors and opening minds, and it is crucial to ensuring that our members' interests are protected and our work is getting results. But ensuring that the society membership is well taken care of will always be our first priority. And in order to do that, we need to maintain an active presence among our peers in the industries in which we exist and work, and within the labor movement. And this is the work that happens in the background of our union almost every single day. For us to remain top of mind for our labor allies, our industry partners, journalists, and politicians, we must be out there constantly joining our allies in solidarity, networking, and making our presence felt in the media, and more importantly, in the legislature. As I wrap up my final year as president with this wonderful union, I am optimistic. I'm optimistic because I've seen the sustainable growth of our union, and I've met the next generation of labor leaders. I hope that the leaders who will follow me will continue to ensure that our members can expect the best contracts, the best benefits, and the best advocacy. Everything we do, we must do for the membership. We have come so far, but the heavy lifting has only just begun. And I hope that we will continue organizing outward, because the nuclear renaissance is a huge opportunity for our union. And the work that we are doing in the legal sector is paying dividends and attracting attention. And we continue to grow. Just this week, we added nearly 50 workers at Laurentis who voted overwhelmingly to join the society, and I would like to recognize Joe Fierro and Rebecca Caron in their work that they did to negotiate that first collective agreement. And I hope that we continue our union's tradition, our long-standing tradition of being a proud member of the labor movement, punching above our weight wherever we choose to involve ourselves. And I hope we continue to build on our strengths, to continue working collaboratively with our employers, governments, agencies, organizations, and the associations we are making a difference with. I hope that we will continue to take a wide lens and a long view and lead with trust and solidarity as our guiding principles. And as I wrap up my final president's report, I do want to thank some people. When I think of how far I've come, both personally and professionally, I couldn't have done it without support and without being pushed, voluntold, and encouraged at key moments in my path. I want to thank Scott Travers, our previous president. I want to thank Rod Shepard. I want to thank Keith Ratai, who encouraged me to become active in our union, to become involved in the broader labor movement, who pushed me to run for the Executive Vice President of Policy. And I want to recognize and thank Faye Greenholz, the first woman to be president of the society when it was still an association. Faye showed me the way for women in leadership. Thank you, Faye. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank the staff who have helped and supported me. I could never have accomplished as much as I did without the strong team behind the scenes making it possible. You all lifted me up, and you will continue to lift me up as I watch from the sidelines. And finally, I want to thank the Society's Executive Board for their leadership and, for not giving me too much of a hard time. We have a large board, and there could be times where things get pretty rough. As I finish my term, I hope that my leadership has served to inspire in some way each and every one of you. I hope it will encourage more women to pursue positions of leadership wherever you are. I'm encouraged by the growth I see at events like WIN, Women in Nuclear, but I want to see more women in leadership roles, especially the executive suites of the industries we work for. I am also encouraged every time I meet our young professionals, or when I meet folks at events like the NAYGN conference, and I see so many bright, enthusiastic, passionate young people who will be the leaders and advocates of our future. I feel so confident that I will be leaving our union in safe hands. I'm proud of where I'm leaving our union. I really see us as an important piece for the fight for our future and for our planet, and I'm filled with hope. But we all must work together to make sure there is a future for our children, for our grandchildren, and for many generations to come. I'm so proud to be standing here in front of you all today. I'm proud to be the president of this inspiring, well-respected union that punches above its weight, as I said before. I know that we are fighting all the right fights for good workplaces, for a decent standard of living, for social justice, for clean energy, and for a future in which our children and our grandchildren can live the decent life that they deserve. The work that we do for this union is important in so many ways. I'm continually grateful for all of you, the members, who are active in our union, because the work requires all of us. As long as we are working together in solidarity, we will be able to continue to build and grow this incredible union. Thank you so much.